Well, thank you for joining me on exercise 3G. I'm going to be looking specifically at question 1E. It says, given the complex number Z1 is 1 plus I, Z2 is 3 minus 2I, and Z3 is negative 2 plus 3I. In 2E, we're asked to calculate two Z1s, take away 4 Z2 with this little asterisk there, and then we've got Z3 times Z2 with this little asterisk there. Well, when you've got this asterisk, the asterisk is the conjugate. So Z2 asterisk is the conjugate of Z2. Now, Z2 has a minus in that position. The conjugate will be 3 plus 2i. So we have to remember, whenever you've got a Z2 with an asterisk, don't use a minus 2i. You change the sign of the imaginary component. Let's substitute. 2 times Z1, 4 times the conjugate of Z2, which is 3 plus 2i, and the product of Z3 and the conjugate of Z2, 3 plus 2i. All right, let's do this. Let's see how we go. And first of all, let's expand. So we've got 2 plus 2i. And now expand. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. And negative 4 times 2i is negative 8i. And the expanding from below, negative 2 times negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Negative 2 times 2i is negative 4i. 3i times 3 is 9i. And 3i times 2i is 6i squared. Let's look at the real components of the numerator. 2 and negative 12 make negative 10. And 2i and negative 8i is minus 6i. And the denominators, we've got, I'd like to change 6i squared. So I squared is negative 1, an important skill in complex numbers. So 6i squared is 6 times negative 1, and that becomes negative 6. So I'm just going to rewrite the denominator to have a negative 6 in that position here. And let's simplify now. The numerator still hasn't changed. Now negative 6 and negative 6 makes negative 12. And negative 4i plus 9i is plus 5i. All right, now we've got this complex number underneath. So we're going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the conjugate of the denominator, which is negative 12. Now, the denominator is negative 12 plus 5i. So we will multiply that by negative 12 minus 5i. Let's see what we get here. We get 120. Negative 10 times negative 5i is positive 50i. We get negative 6i times negative 12 is positive 72i. And negative 6i times negative 5i is 30i squared. Our denominator here is negative 12 times negative 12, 144. Negative 12 times negative 5i, positive 60i. 5i times negative 12 is negative 60i, and 5i times negative 5i is negative 25i squared. Let's change these 30i squared into 30 lots of negative ones. That's negative 30. And we'll change the denominator negative 25i squared into negative 25 times negative 1 becomes positive 25. So let's do that. 120, 50i, 72i, minus 30. 144. You know what? You can see this is going to cancel. So I'm just going to leave that out and change negative 25i squared into plus 25. Let's see what we've got up here. I'm just going to change that. 120 take away 30 is 90. And 50i plus 72i is 122i over 169. We can split this up, 90 over 169 and 122 over 169i. And there we have our final result for this question. I hope this has helped. Until next time, stay happy.